This scene repeated itself a couple of times in Winnipeg as letter carriers tried to prevent anyone from crossing their lines. At the main postal station, attempts to block a Canada Post rig from coming in caused a few problems. One man was arrested, handcuffed, and taken away. One of yours has been carted away. How do you feel?
C'est la vie. That's just part of how it goes.
Replacement workers were in first thing in the morning, despite an announcement from Ottawa last week that replacement workers would not be used. Those who did try to cross the line were met with angry cries.
Come on, Scabber! Jump on the truck! I'll rip your face off!
The letter carrier's business agent in Winnipeg, Fred Campbell, points out it's the first time this union has won. He says they're fighting for their jobs. Campbell is also worried about the use of replacement workers.
If you want to go out on the street and walk down and deliver letters to whatever amount of streets, there aren't enough of us as union executive people, there aren't enough management people, and there aren't enough police to control that violence.
Picketers received support from other unions, including the Manitoba Federation of Labour and the Inside Postal Workers Union. In the meantime, Canada Post spokesman Chris Goulet says the corporation is disappointed with the turn of events.
In light of our public statements saying that we wanted to meet with the mediator and the union, both parties meeting with the mediator, that they should choose to set up picket lines today. So there is disappointment.
However, the letter carriers union says 2 mediators have already tried to bring both sides to an agreement, and right now the union is ready for a long strike. Debbie McKenzie, Prairie Pulse.
Brandon letter carriers joined their counterparts in other western cities, but without the violence. Brandon Union President Dan Flick said that the strike could go on for some time unless a mediator is appointed.
Could be 1 day, 2 days, or a week. It all depends. But if the mediator comes in today, we may be back to work tomorrow morning.
So you're hoping the mediator will work?
Well, we thought so on Friday. But it's now 3 days since they said we'd have a mediator, so we don't know.
However, Canada Post added fuel to the fire by bringing in outside workers shortly after picket lines formed. Trouble soon flared up in Winnipeg and Regina when the laborers crossed picket lines, resulting in several arrests. The move by Canada Post has upset carriers in Brandon as well, but Flick says they do not intend to become militant. He did, however, express frustration with the corporation's tactics.
They've been doing that since our contract expired on December 31st. They say something and do something different. Until we see everything on paper and signed, we really don't believe very much that they say.
Flick added that only 8 outside workers have been brought in so far, and unless more are hired, 8 won't make much of a difference in Brandon. Laurie Scott, Prairie Pulse.
Well, both the union and Canada Post have agreed to get a mediator in to help solve this dispute, but the federal labor minister has yet to appoint one, and tonight he won't say why. George Appleton reports.
Back off! Back off! Don't start banging, you'll be arrested. Back off! You'll be arrested.
Usual tactics were not working, so picketers at Ottawa's main postal terminal sent out for ammunition.
We've already been warned that there's a budget coming up. That's the guy we have to get. Pull the scab mail.
Some trucks were turned away. But when it came to the real prize, the egg artillery wasn't enough. Meanwhile, the Minister of Labor and the minister responsible for the post office held a news conference to announce the creation of a hazardous products information service. Reporters wanted to know about the appointment of a mediator to settle the strike. Pierre Cadieux had one answer.
I have a request before me, and I will render my decision when I have made it.
At the same time, violence broke out on 2 other picket lines in the area. Police made several arrests. 3 hours later, in the House of Commons, the Labour Minister again resisted pressure to appoint a mediator right away. Canada Post and union negotiators are not meeting. Those talks will not resume until Cadieux makes up his mind one way or another. George Appleton, Independent Satellite News, Ottawa.
Well, strikers in this postal dispute are infuriated by Canada Post bringing in replacement workers. And that, of course, is what's triggering the violence on the picket lines. On Street Beat tonight, we ask if you think Canada Post should be bringing in those replacement workers.
I think what the postal workers are asking for shouldn't mean that the rest of Canada should be without mail. Well, I think someone should be brought in to do the mail.
I think they're right in doing anything to avert what this strike is doing to business. All across the country, it's a disaster.
Well, I guess the mail has to go through, but I'm ambivalent, I guess. I can see both sides.
I believe it should be in free enterprise. We should have that.
I don't see anything wrong with it.
Still ahead on Prairie Pulse at 10, a lack